Hi, and welcome to the UK Studio Update. Starting with the Environments team, work has been underway on our next generation of space stations, beginning with the rest stops. Rest stops are unique among the space stations we've designed so far, as they are created semi-procedurally. This will allow us to populate the PEU with many variations of them easily, and to do that we've put a lot of focus on developing the right tools and workflow needed to achieve it. There are three main location components we've been focusing on to achieve the first iteration of the rest stop space station. The first component is the exterior. The unique silhouette of the rest stop's exterior is designed to maximize readability from a distance, while also allowing for individual personality and variety with the ability to vary layout and architecture. Varied building materials, colour schemes and ad placement mean that a great number of visual possibilities are achievable throughout the modular construction of these stations, which allows us to automate layout generation while maintaining artistic control. Hangars have also undergone plenty of recent development work. The rest stop will be the first station type to fully utilise this type of hangar, which we are terming a common element, and can be used in every utilitarian hangar in the game. Even though every hangar of this type will share the same core design functionality, they are built to allow for mixing and matching of walls, entrances, exits, and service modules in a variety of ways and styles to achieve varied looks across different locations. The third location component we've been focusing on is the interior. Developing the procedural layout tool used to generate these rest stops has been a big and admittedly challenging project. We are now at a stage where we can automatically generate large numbers of layouts using the tool and a set library of room and connector prefabs. Maintaining visual consistency and coherence while still making locations appear different remain artistically challenging for the tool and the team. Much like the exterior component, the trick is to randomize a lot of smaller choices like prop placement and lighting rather than alter the larger room forms. This method allows us to maintain artistic control over the main spaces, flow and form. Improvements have been made to the prop team's entity system within DataForge, allowing for one entity to contain both gameplay features and visual keys while being set up and controlled using one system. This means that once we set up an entity, we can drop it into any level, retaining all working functionality. This also makes for easier syncing between animations and material effects, such as glows or UI elements. Consequently, the number of lights needed to fake glowing materials or flashing lights during different stages of animation has been significantly reduced. We have revised our metrics and template assets for usables and interactive props, making them easier to understand and allowing for improved scalability and functionality support for these item types. Building on these tech improvements, we are now able to create destructible props that mesh swap and also update environmental effects such as lights, VFX and audio accordingly. These aren't being implemented in 3.1 and we are still in the early stages, but these tech developments are laying the foundations for future releases. A new set of low-tech medical props is being built out along with some new medical dressings. Both are planned for use throughout the PEU as common medical elements. We have also been working on the sub-items that will be used to customize the performance of ship components and making sure that when that feature comes online, there is a wide selection of visuals to support the gameplay. The missions team has been replacing the existing AI with new subsumption behavior. Still fairly early in its development, we've been focusing on balance and implementing wild lines into the game for the AI-controlled characters. For those that might not know, wild lines are lines of dialogue which play systematically when the AI receives some sort of trigger, such as receiving damage.
Okay.
Do us a favour and fight back. Don't like how you just roll over.
Shield full.
These go a long way toward personalizing each player's experience, as the AI will communicate with players differently depending on their relationship and history. As the AI continues to develop, we've also taken the opportunity to reassess the Vandal and Pirate Swarm game modes within Arena Commander. They have been rebalanced with the focus on delivering a satisfying experience rather than extreme difficulty. Something we're really excited about is the creation of a prototype scramble race event which can work in space or planetside. In these death races, opponents battle to collect randomly generated checkpoints and more fundamentally to stay alive. The race relies heavily on dialogue, and we have upcoming recording sessions planned to supply this ahead of release. Finally, we've been rebalancing the reputation progression system as it became apparent that there were too many ways to accrue a negative reputation while attaining a positive one was too challenging. The UI team has been researching ways to improve performance by analysing where the CPU is spending its time. Optimizations made to the code of the ECG graph and the visor significantly reduce the CPU cost without affecting visual quality. The ECG graph has a buffer for the heartbeat value. With every update, the game would add a new value to the front of the buffer while removing the oldest from the back, causing expensive memory shifting. To prevent this, the team now uses a circular buffer by just storing an index to the oldest location in the buffer. When the index reaches the end of the buffer, it loops back to the start in cyclical fashion, which is much more efficient because memory is only written to rather than being moved around. The second optimization applied to the ECG was to stop redrawing the whole graph each frame. Instead, we add the new value to the right-hand side and move the whole graph along to the left. We use a clip window to ensure only the essential parts are drawn and the graphics data is recycled in a similar fashion to the circular buffer. The graphics team has been working on some major performance savings when rendering characters. Each of our characters are split up into many different meshes, not only for swapping out clothing and armor, but also so that we can hide individual portions of an object to avoid interpenetrating geometry. Our shaders, textures and geometry have now been organized in such a way that we can render multiple adjacent meshes in one go, which vastly reduces the CPU cost of submitting the work to the GPU while maintaining flexibility. To improve the quality and legibility of our various UI screens, we've been working on two new shader effects for the render-to-texture system. The first is an edge highlighting effect, which we use for the ship targeting displays, and the second is a drop shadow effect to help make sure icons stand out against bright backgrounds. Graphics has also been collaborating with the VFX department to improve our GPU particle system. Our ambitious VFX artists are implementing lean production techniques to prioritize the features that will provide maximum impact. A couple of examples would be improved spawn inheritance and curl noise, both of which were requested to allow us to create better, cheaper electrical and plasma effects for things like the coil interior and EMP weapon improvements. They've also been working through a fairly large snag list for the 3.1 release, doing things like toning down the dust mote opacity in certain environments that have undergone lighting updates, and re-adding planet-moon effects so they work correctly with the planetary tech improvements. Tech design has been finalising 3.1 release work, implementing and tuning new weapons like the GATS ballistic Gatling, PRAR distortion scattergun and AMRS laser cannon, while supporting the conversion of existing gear to Weapon 2.0. They also have been rebalancing a lot, including distortion weaponry following fixes to allow items to affect items as opposed to just shields, countermeasures to make them more effective post-Item 2.0 implementation, continued iteration of flight balance, especially atmospheric landing turbulence, and the rebalance of shield setback and regeneration rates. At the other end of the pipeline, they have also been working with art on some exciting new ship concepts, which will be revealed throughout the year on Around the Verse's Shipshape segment. Also contributing to the game's ever-expanding fleet is the ship art team. The Aegis Hammerhead's interior is mostly set out with the exception of the crew dorm and kitchen area, while the cargo bay and bridge are currently in a detailing pass. Another Aegis ship, the Eclipse, is now back in full production, the current focus being the exterior. The team is reinforcing its stealthy appearance by tightening up the POM panel line details, enhancing the materials and making sure all the movement parts are operational. The weapon audio system has undergone a substantial refactor and work has begun on designing full NLPC weapon perspective sets, along with specific sounds for various distances. An environmental weapon report or tail layer has also been added for a weapons on planet side location to better reflect the environmental response of the weapon fire. Recently, members of the audio team took part in a sound effects recording session at Oscillate Studios, focused on vibrating various metallic objects using transducers that respond to low frequency sounds. The metals were simulated via synthesized tones, which were performed using a MIDI keyboard, playing with the pitch in order to impart different resonances and sympathetic rattles to a diverse range of scrap metal objects.
Jazz.
It is a bit like jazz.
The primary focus of this session was to create source material for our ships, partly inspired by the sound production team at Warner Brothers, who worked on the Christopher Nolan film Interstellar. They used large-scale subwoofers to resonate the fuselages of aircrafts to model the behavior of spaceships under duress, simulating atmospheric entry, strong gravitational fields, and so on. The Derby office continues to expand its operations. It was a pleasure to welcome a number of our valued backers during the recent Imperator subscribers event, where the developers demonstrated core elements of their workflow, including facial animation, motion capture, and technical animation. The tour also offered us the opportunity to scan 3 more faces, and we look forward to seeing the lucky participants in the verse. The gameplay story team have been getting all the required scenes for gameplay story organised in Shotgun, and are working with the design to get the first few scenes implemented in-game and up to standard. Progress has been made on R&D for the Vandal face rig and internal facial rig technologies, along with iterations to female rigs in Maya. The new one-to-one conversion updates to the rig will break a lot of animations that use props, so we've been developing an automated solution to fix the animation files we have without an animator having to manually go through and reanimate everything. And finally, the facial animation team has been busy finalizing animations on various PU shopkeepers, bartenders, and mission givers.
You doing all right? Everything good? Make an uncertain world a little more certain. That's all I can say till I know if you're in or not. Hurry and get to your ship. I'll be in touch before the race.
This includes blending all the animations from the same facial poses so they all play seamlessly from one another. That's it for our UK studio update. We're looking forward to a fun day at BritainCon this year on the 21st April in Manchester. Erin and Brian will be there, along with others taking part in Q&A panels and many more of the team enjoying a day of interaction with the community. They're running a raffle with some great prizes, and tickets are still available via the link in the description below. And of course, thank you to all our backers for continuing to support the development of both Star Citizen and Squadron 42.